Listen up.
It's TLDL.
Welcome to TLDL. Whoa.
Welcome back, everybody, to Too Long Didn't Listen.
My name's Alex.
My name's Chloe.
And today we got an interesting episode for you.
I'm hot.
Yes, it's fucking hot.
It's fucking hot, you guys. I don't know where you live and what hellfire your landscape is, but I am miserable, and everyone knows.
And you just started complaining about it.
Well, this week's been in the 90s.
Yes.
And this is like starting
summer.
the heat of the day, though. Like this is, my house gets really hot around this time, and it's been 90 for like a week, and it's my whole personality right now is just being hot. I'm so over it.
Well, it's
happy
hot, baby.
summer, everyone.
Happy
I
summer.
hope this is what you wanted. I literally moved here for the weather, and I'm just like complaining constantly. I can't do it.
I would rather this than Massachusetts snow, though.
God bless you all.
Yeah.
Take foot baths.
You know what my annoyance is?
What?
You always fucking interrupt me.
Yeah.
We got a comment on one of our TikToks. If you don't follow us on TikTok, follow us on TikTok. But you fucking interrupt everything.
Yes.
You know what's funny? Before I got into even podcasting with you, I was like, oh, this is what I'm in for. You know, I'm totally fine with it. But it's funny that other people get annoyed for me.
Dude, it annoys me.
Yeah.
I don't like that I interrupt.
Yeah. I like talk about something.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm not mad about it, but I think it's funny.
I hate it. I like don't want to post. It's so funny because someone commented on a TikTok that we uploaded that when Alex sent it to me for approval, I literally said, will you cut out the front end of it because I interrupt you? And that annoyed me. Oh. And then you were like, no, I think it's funny. And so you uploaded it and this guy goes, can you let him talk? And I was like, okay, I recognized it, but it is true. And I was going to also say the last episode we did, obviously I was impaired.
Oh yeah, you were stoned.
I was.
Really stoned.
I was, but it didn't sound like it when I listened back, but I didn't interrupt nearly as much. So I'm going to pull that energy.
Yo, it didn't sound like it, but if you watch the YouTube video, it fucking looked like it. I
am humiliated. Reels will already be out at the point that you're hearing this. Oh my God. My eyes.
I was laughing all last night at the same clip that I sent you. I was laughing this morning. My cheeks were hurting in my house. Gizmo's looking at me like I'm crazy.
I was so embarrassed. Okay, whatever. Let's get into
Move
it.
On.
That's my annoyance. I'm burning up from the inside out.
Hell yeah. I'm not really annoyed that you interrupt me. I think it's fine.
I'm working on it.
I'm cool with it. I'm not cool with it. I really do accept that about you.
Thank you.
Not even in I'll get over it. Like I actually do.
I interrupt because I am so afraid if I don't get out what I'm going to say, I'm going to like forget it. And I really want to share that.
It's so important that what the person's saying, it's more important than what the person's saying.
Me forgetting it is what's more important. It's not that I want to interrupt you to like say my thought. I'm just afraid that I'll lose it. And then when you're done talking, I'll have forgotten what I was going to say, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I think I can depend on my memory a little better than I am because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to forget. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Because it was like 4th of July the other week, which I have a different take on because I come from a Latino family. That's like, I posted something on Instagram about it. I'm actually grateful my parents moved here. And I'm not patriotic and I don't wave flags around.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even do that in Brazil. But I'm glad there's countries that are a lot worse. Brazil is not a great place to be living at the moment. And there's but yeah, anyways.
I've noticed that from some of my friends who've come from other countries or like families have come in that they are more respectful because they're grateful. And I guess for me right now, though, I'm just like, I don't think even people who moved here at this point with the way our laws are going, I don't know if it's much better. And I'm saying that knowing that there's obviously like third world countries that there are really bad things happening, but I don't think just because someone moved here and their parents worked hard or they've worked hard for citizenship. One of my friends herself got citizenship.
Yeah, my parents did too, yeah.
I don't want to I just don't think that they're obligated to be like, oh, I love America and I'm so grateful to be here and not like they're citizens. They can hold us accountable and complain about it too. I just want them to feel like you did it. You're an American now. You're allowed to complain. Like you don't have to be like, oh, I'm so grateful. It's like, no, don't infantilize yourself like that. Like, or infantilize yourself like that. Like, you're allowed to not like it here too, even though it's a better option. I just don't want people to feel like they have to be so grateful because we're like, you're lucky. I don't feel that way, and you're allowed to complain around me. Like, that's something I hate, is when people feel like they have to be super patriotic because they've.
Yeah, definitely not that. I mean, I don't care. I don't feel patriotic. I don't ever, like I always say, I'm never in like a club. I can't fit myself as American, as a patriot or whatever. But I am glad, for what it's worth, for all the everywhere we could have landed in the world, my family did land here, and it was a great starting point, because my mom grew up in a tobacco farm, working as like a child, in a tobacco farm.
And I'm so glad, and I'm sure like that gratefulness is there. I just don't want people to feel like, oh, if we're around Americans, we have to be like, we're so lucky. Like, America's the greatest country. It's like, it's okay to criticize it. For sure. You know,
I don't think there's any shortage of Latinos criticizing.
Okay, good. Because I hear it sometimes, people around me, and I'm like, oh, you guys, I am not the one you have to like the flag for.
Yeah.
Like, this is a safe space. You're also allowed to complain about all of our like human rights being taken away.
Yeah. And there's such a contrasting like culture. White people culture.
Let's talk about white people culture
really quick, because what is white culture? There's a lot. And it all comes from, because there's not like with American culture, there's not any specific like ancestry from one white country. You know what I mean? It's all like kind of a mix from all these other stuff. It's kind of created from like all the dysfunctional aspects of society. You know what I mean? Like reality shows. Great moment of white people culture is when we went for a walk the other day, and you had your huge ass sunglasses on, and you're like straight and blonde hair, and you're like looking at this guy, you're like, he's so cute. Look at you. Oh my God. Like these huge ass. It was amazing. I was like, this is white culture right here.
I'm so glad I can represent.
But you have goats. So
I have goats.
Yeah. Anyway.
I just like get caught up in the fact that I still live in such a rural area, and I do think they're cute. I know I felt like I was on a show where they just transplanted someone.
Oh, it was very
That's what I looked like in that moment. Yes, it was. It was so. That is so funny. I just defaulted to like the most inherent white girl, like, I don't know, persona. I had a hand on my hip, and I was like looking at the goats, and I was like, you're cute. Like,
look at you.
The fuck? I know. It's in there. Yeah. White people culture is
what's some examples of it?
What are some examples?
Appropriating different
other
food
people's cultures.
Yeah, food cultures like pizza, like burgers
Asian
and fries.
Food,
burgers and
Cajun
fries.
food. Oh yeah, we have burgers and fries. Okay.
Milkshakes.
Yeah, we do have. We love milk.
Hot dog eating contest.
Oh my gosh,
that is fucking white people culture. At my work, there was these two white dudes. They were like, oh, you know, like the hot dog eating contest, and they're naming the guy's name. They're like, yeah, and he won, and blah, blah, blah. And they're getting all hyped up. And I turn around to the dudes in the kitchen, all Mexican guys. I was like, and they say white people don't have a culture. And we all started fucking cracking up because they were legit hyped.
My God, yes.
Hyped.
When Alex first told me that story, I like yelped because it is so funny and it's so true. I didn't know about this hot dog eating contest until this year. Actually, I have a mom group on Facebook that I talked to a couple girls, and they live on the East Coast, and then more like, well, whatever Florida's considered. And they were talking about this guy named Joey Chestnut. And I was like, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about. And they were like, you're lying. I said, no, I have no idea. What are you talking about? And like, he is like a competitive eater. Like he does the hot dog eating contest every year. And I said, what hot dog eating contest every year? I was like, what are you talking about?
Competitive eating. What? Yeah. That is America.
Oh, fuck yeah. White people culture. But I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, the one on like the 4th of July every year, Nathan's hot dog eating contest. And I said,
Nathan is a great name.
Straight up, I don't know what you're talking about. So I texted all my friends and I was like, let's see. Is this a me thing? Is it someone else? I texted all of my friends. No one knew.
Oh, okay.
No, none of my friends knew what the fuck Joey Chestnut or this hot dog eating contest.
Never even heard of it.
A couple guys did. And I think there was like one girl I know because I send it out to a bunch of group chats. I was like, I need to get a big group consensus. I put it on
poll.
Twitter. I put a poll on Twitter. I did. Because I was like, I'm proud to be a bad white person. Like, if I don't know, I'm good. But I was like, I can't be the only one. So a lot of my friends did not know. So I do think there's different pockets of white people culture, because mine are like the big sunglasses talking to animals about how cute they are.
Yes.
And like, you know, I know a lot of people, I feel like in my pocket, value animal lives more than human lives. Like that is the funny like pocket I fall into stereotypically, even if it's not true.
For sure.
But that's what I look like. That is my like white person genre.
Really quick, when I was trying to make a reel for your adoption story, I tried putting in foster care hashtags, and it's only fostering dogs. When you put in adoption, adopting pets. Yeah. There is, and it was like 1,599,099K like hashtags, and you put in like foster care system is flawed, foster care fails, or whatever. It's like thousands, like low
people don't
thousands.
care about kids in this country. It's also funny because we specifically don't care about kids in this country. Like we don't raise our kids like in a communal way that so many other countries do. We just don't have the support. Yeah. Like raising a child in this country, moms always talk about like how isolating it is. It is so different. And like, so it's just funny when people are talking about the pro-choice, pro-life and like saving our babies. It's like, I honestly can't think of a society who hates babies more. We don't give a long maternity leave. We barely give paternity leave. Some don't at all. There's no like programs or anything for anyone really.
Major blind spot.
We have to pay for our own birth. Like, unless you have private insurance or through a company, but private insurance.
You're still paying for it, yeah.
Yeah, and I end up, thank God I had insurance, Jesus. But it's like $30,000 to have a kid if you don't have insurance. Like, who's going to pay for that? So it is really funny and not surprising at all to hear that there's no like social media following of those types of hashtags.
It was sad.
They don't care. They don't care.
I'm like, there's, yes, for sure. What is a good aspect, do you think, of white people culture, honestly? Because there is obviously something. I grew up resenting a lot of like American stuff.
I was even gonna say like maybe
reality
Americans,
TV.
I was gonna say maybe like we are very simple people, but then again, we don't even enjoy the leisures of being simple. Like Europe, I mean, obviously there are white people in Europe. It's really an American white people culture. It has to be a very specified thing here, but they get vacations and time off and sabbaticals, and we don't get any of that. So what is a part of like basic American white person culture that's a positive?
Comfort food.
You know what?
We
We are really good at like really cute boutique stores. I will say that. We're really good at making shit look cute and branding. Ooh, I think that you walk into like little boutique stores in small towns and like all of the cookbooks, like the astrology cookbooks and all of those like little kitschy things that people do enjoy, having vases just laying around with like one stem of a flower. I think we're really good at cutesy. I think we're really good. Your
pocket of American culture.
I think so. Yes, I think we're really good at that. And I know, like, I always crack up when I see like TikToks or tweets of people, like Black people saying like, what I do love about white girls is like you walk in and it looks like you're in a magazine. Like that's a funny thing that we do, that we care, but then we create the products and mass produce them so that like everyone can enjoy that. So that might be one thing we're really good at doing, is like making things cost too much because we like put a cute like cover on it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're good at making candles.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
And there's a lighter side to capitalism. It's not all bad.
We love sayings, live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh.
We
oh my gosh.
are so good at sayings. Really good at like coffee, iced coffee.
Yeah.
Really good at that.
That's
like a white girl and gay guy kind of thing is iced coffee. That's kind
of appropriated, right?
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, because coffee, it's strictly a tropical plant.
This is like an exhausting conversation to have because there's so little that we contribute. But I'm really good, but like weddings, that is such a white girl basic thing. I am a wedding designer. Like,
but you're really good at it. And your celebrations are bomb.
Thank you.
And your designs
really good
are
at
good.
charcuterie boards,
Very
hosting.
white. This is see, there is.
There you go. That is my white people culture. That is what we bring. I think we make things unnecessarily pretty.
Yeah.
I think and really enjoy it. Like and really love the simple, we're simple.
Yes.
Simple culture.
Because it's not all bad, obviously, but it's funny on Instagram in the past. I used to look at white people stop, #white people stop. And it was really fucking funny.
I love following accounts that make fun of like basic white girls. Yeah, and I think it's so funny. It's so true. We don't have this, and also not like everyone is from different regions of the world. It's just America is such this melting pot or whatever, like so many different cultures, but the white American has so very little to be proud of or to really want to show off. So it's, I'm okay with it. I hate people. God, they're the worst. They're the like weird Trumpies who are like, white people deserve respect too. And I'm like, not really.
I mean, I do. I think everyone has some level of respect that we do.
But
so
we don't.
What if I just disrespected you all the time? Would you be okay with that? But I have
other reasons that you would respect me. Yeah. Like my culture, there's nothing cool I do in my culture. You're never going to see me. That's what I'm saying. I think it's really cool if someone's like Jewish and every week they do their, whatever Passover, or like people have communities and whatnot. There's nothing I do in my life that is noteworthy that has anything to do with my culture. And that's why I'm kind of refraining from saying white. No one's color of their skin really dictates something.
For sure, Because cool I'm technically white.
But like your white-ish. Culture, I think, is I don't have a culture. I am Scandinavian, adopted into like a pretty mixed family.
Yeah.
There's no like rituals or anything. I just like really lean into the cheese boards. And seriously, that is my culture. My culture is cheese boards.
Yeah. I had to learn
and the other side of my culture is hot dog eating contests. So
yes, take what you will from that. Well, for me, I grew up in a world where I hung out with mostly Latino kids, Black kids, and a little bit of white kids, of course, and I never put it on my white friends, but I did resent American culture a lot.
Okay, tell me your least favorite thing about American culture.
Like consumerism, the entitled consumerism. Until today, I don't like when someone walks in and is like, where's my coffee? When they say like, or my food, they didn't even order it, or I'm going to order my food like this. Like it's already theirs. And they haven't even purchased it yet. There's someone doing the labor for that, and they have that idea in their mind already. I get why they're saying it, but there's something that really bothers me. Like, it's not your food. We're really proud of
owning things. We're not communal. We're not a community-based culture. That's what I was saying.
It's like it really does bother me, and like there's like a lot of it's just like. Yeah.
I don't talk like that. That's funny.
You definitely I
just say like, oh, I'm going to get lunch, or what do you have for lunch? Yes. Like I would never be like, what can I get today even?
The only time I've heard you say my coffee is because you literally have a coffee under your name.
Oh yeah. Like I'm drinking my,
yes.
Oh, because I do have the coffee.
Because you say, it's
can
like,
I get
my
coffee
drink.
Because I have a coffee order.
But you've never walked in and be like, I want my coffee this, I want this, I'm mine this. There's something about it that I really pushes me the wrong way, because we were just taught to be like, you eat the food that you get, and then this is what we got. And it comes from poverty, of course. And I get why people do that, but that was certainly something that used to bother the shit out of me. And seeing people at the malls, like overspending all this, like the malls are another thing that bothers me about white culture.
I love walking around a mall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I love walking around a mall.
Yeah. But so that's
I do. This is lots to think about.
Yeah, and then just like a lot of disrespect for nature. Not disrespect, just like it's just like not taking care of it. I think it's because
we're so pressured to like who can get ahead first. It's the same reason we have MLMs and like all these like, consumerism, capitalism. It really does add so much stress.
And fast food bothers the shit out of me.
Is fast food in other countries?
It is, but it's for sure like in Brazil, they fetishize American culture in the sense of like they have like Lady Gaga impersonators on huge TV shows where like they go on and they like or Britney Spears impersonators with like the thing, and everyone's like, oh my God, she's at like Britney Spears bigger than Britney Spears even, like literally.
What?
because I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've seen that plenty of times. And McDonald's, they're like, oh my God, like, have you eaten at McDonald's? It's just this idea. Starbucks, like if you were to go eat at Starbucks or drink like or coffee, it's like this like fetishization of American culture where
so they wouldn't American have fast food if we didn't have fast food here, you don't think?
I think McDonald's is from America. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the idea may have been there, but just the industrialization, like the lowest quality food, your dog, the lowest quality food, the pushing it out in mass quantities. It just really bothers me. But we'll have an environmental episode one day, and I'll get to rant.
Okay. Well, we're cranky for our intro, so
I know. Sorry. Let's flip this.
We'll just get into the topic side. And.
Yes.
We'll be so happy, but I'm hot and I'm thinking about white people culture. I mean, You really couldn't bring my day down more.
I'm sorry.
Maybe if it was 70 degrees. We'll redo this.
You want to do a hot dog eating contest?
Fuck you.
Just kidding.
We'll redo this in the winter. We'll talk and I'll come. I just love the cool breeze of the winter.
It was kind of like that the last couple of weeks where we had like this cool morning. It was nice.
And now I'm just sitting here thinking about my lack of culture in this 95-degree hellhole. And I just
about
want
middle America
to die. I know I have to get my brain out of this. You brought up my least favorite subject.
Okay, well, anyways, we're talking about
intuition
and like some paranormal. Like, intuition is not really. It's something you can pinpoint, but it's hard to get, and it's definitely a muscle you have to flex in your brain and get into. So this the opposite of what we were just talking about.
Yeah, we're gonna use our brains.
We're gonna use our. No, we were using our brains before. Now we're using our intuition, right?
I think it's all tied together.
Yeah.
Okay, let's define
gut feeling, intuition. Yeah, you define it, girl.
Okay, so we're going to talk about intuition / gut feelings. We're also going to touch on instinct because it very much is aligned with this. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, you said paranormal. We're going to talk about like a little bit of like clairvoyancy as well, kind of that sixth sense that goes beyond what we know about. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to talk about intuition today, instinct, and clairvoyancy.
Clairvoyancy and a little bit paranormal story at the end.
Yes, we've got a listener tale that where it all ties together. So let's define it first because they are so close together. Mm-hmm. Intuition is essentially, in my own words, where your body and your brain is subconsciously using past experiences and our understanding of the world based on those experiences that create that feeling.
Yes.
And then intuition is also something that is typically a foresight kind of thing. Like you get a feeling and you have a chance to mull it over, to think about it and to kind of dissect it. But intuition is a feeling, but we know that it's coming from our past experiences. Instinct, and this one is the definition that I just grabbed out of the dictionary, but intuition is not a reaction. It is an insight or a thought. Instinct is a natural reaction, not a thought. You respond automatically to a situation without even having time to think.
Yes.
So it's like a gut reaction.
It's extremely intelligent because it's based on ancestrally thousands of how we evolved. Like it's it's like a response from our like great grandparents,
plus
which is crazy.
Anything we've experienced in our lifetime. So it's all goes together. It's like that, if you feel hunted, that's going to be like a generational ancestral thing. But then also like if someone were to come up to you and you like have a visceral reaction away from them, mm-hmm. that is an instinct. Mm-hmm. You didn't have time to think about it. Whereas there might have been a moment of intuition. Like if you had encountered that person before, you might have gotten a feeling, but instinct is really that you don't have time to think or look into it, but they're both gut feelings, right? Like they're both
this like primal kind of like just something. I don't really know how to explain it.
Like a reaction.
Yes, totally.
And then just because we're going to get there at the end, clairvoyance and psychic, same thing, just being able to either see into the future, talk to the dead, or like derive things from another dimension is kind of how it's defined. Mm-hmm. The first two are very legitimate sciences. And then the last is up for debate.
Yeah. And I don't believe in something, but I believe in something, if that makes sense. Like,
same.
I don't again, science is like very clear on certain stuff. Even within science, like there's biased studies and people pay for this and that to skew things one way or the other. So we still have to have some faith in science sometimes. And then there's a whole
while
other
being aware that sometimes it's a little skewed.
It's yes, exactly.
Or biased. It's very biased. Science is very biased,
really
unfortunately.
Biased. Yeah. But then like there's this other side where like there has been times where like someone with not even in my peripheral vision was staring at me, and I just had this feeling, and I turn around and they're looking directly at me. So it's like, what is that? What are these? Yeah.
Very interestingly, and I cannot remember the name for it. Honestly, I can barely pronounce it. When I was doing a little bit of research for this episode, just to grab those definitions and make sure we're using them in the proper way, like make sure what we're saying is what you think. Because I think we all have our own definitions of intuition and being psychic, whatever.
For sure.
So I was looking into the sixth sense, because when I was growing up, sixth sense was like used in reference to, you know, that unknown
paranormal
feeling.
Stuff,
yes. Or you feel like someone's watching you, just like what you said, but what is it? Like we can't define it. More recently, and there's a lot of articles on this, they are defining a sixth sense in legitimate like science journals. And it's very similar to echolocation, and someone who is like blind who can walk around because they are sensing the reverberations. We do have, some of us, apparently it's genetic, but some of us have the ability to, with our eyes closed, know where we are in space, whether we're in a small room, whether we're in a large room. Like if you're in a closet versus a banquet hall, there are at least some people who can tell, and then echolocating is possible, which is where you use vibrations to find your way around a room. That is becoming more legitimized as a sixth sense. So now I'm like seventh sense for the unknown, but there is an unexplainable. But I just, since you mentioned that being able to tell someone staring at you is a studied science that they're trying to learn more about right now. And it actually, it does have a logical reason behind it. Like you can feel them. Your body
can pick up
based on vibrations and their breathing and your like movement can feel them. So it's not like an otherworldly response. It is your body just knows, like the hair on the back of your neck stands up.
Yes. Stuff like that.
So it's like a real thing.
Hell yeah.
I want to talk about it more someday. I didn't have a chance to look into it, but I was like, oh, this is really interesting.
Yeah, very.
Very
it's like,
instinctual.
Yeah. Like I think, that's like a huge survival technique for like probably hunter-gatherer stuff. Because it's all, a lot of what we do is, all of this is super recent when it comes to how long we've been on Earth. So like,
all of what?
The house and technology, cameras,
He's just
internet.
like gesticulating into the air right now.
Oh, like the internet, air conditioners, all this, like as long as we've been on the planet, all of this is so new.
Totally.
So our instincts are working, and like intuition and all that is working with that. Like, I mean, working against this, like this is like so counterintuitive.
Everything that like our ancestors learned. Yeah, they say it's true. There's generational trauma in not just not just the social aspect, but your body and your history like holds trauma. It's all very interesting, but some of it is unexplainable. So while we're going to talk about intuition, and there is a definition, and they do understand it, is because we process quickly. We're very smart. We're not the smartest, but we are the smartest thing walking on the planet, allegedly. The way that we perceive things and process them, we do subconsciously sometimes. So that intuition, that gut feeling, that sick feeling, there's a reason for it, even if we can't identify it. But what I think is cool, and what I want to talk today about too, is how do we start identifying those gut feelings and then figuring out what about a situation is making us react that way. Because I think we can kind of hone it in and harness those feelings
for sure
to really get to know ourselves and to just make life easier for us by following our intuition.
For sure.
So you were telling me earlier about a feeling you had when you were in high school about someone, and I want you to share that because it resonated with me.
After school program with it was just an after school program every day, not every day, any chance we could. It was like in a whole other city, but we would go because that's where we learned music.
Okay.
And it was very much like mostly community building as a nonprofit. We would all hang out, and it was people, some kids weren't even musically into it. Sometimes they would teach them sound engineering, which was amazing. It's called Zoomix, zoomix.org. If you're interested in what is even that. It's in the Boston area. And amazing stuff. So, but we would have a bunch of kids coming together and straight kids that from all over the place, mostly the Boston area. And this one kid, he just was a little bit older than everyone, gave off a weird vibe. He had his younger siblings
and how old
with
were
him.
you?
I was young. I was like either early teens or like 11 or 12, somewhere like that. And this kid was just like, gave me a weird vibe. Something about me really wanted to dismiss everything he was saying because he was weird. He like had like, you know, like weird hair. And I don't know if it like, I still don't know exactly what it was because I wouldn't really treat someone that looked quote unquote weird to me.
Weird hair is never going to make you treat someone weird if there's not more to it.
Yes. And then he, just the way he came off and the way he talked, he was talking about like getting a back tattoo. And I was like, everything he was saying was just making me cringe. And later on, they were like, it seemed like you were kind of annoyed with that kid because you kept cutting him off and talking over him. And I was like, I don't know. But I got a very weird feeling. I couldn't even identify exactly what I was going through. But later on, like at least 6 years later or something like that.
Wow, that's a long time. Okay.
I never saw him after that or maybe just in passing. It's the dog's here. He's good. He ended up going to jail for child videos and like really like nasty, just nasty stuff on YouTube. They'll censor and like, you know, push us away.
Who did you find that out through?
The internet.
Really?
Like I saw a mugshot of him.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, wait a second. I forgot his name and everything.
And you had such a strong feeling and you couldn't identify it, which is, I think, super powerful because you were so young. You didn't you couldn't, you thought like you're looking, you're like, it's his weird hair or like he's taller than the rest of us. But like, that's not what it is.
But he just seemed way out of place. His energy was weird. He kept cracking weird jokes. Nothing to do with anything creepy, but he just gave me this vibe where I was like, oh, something.
And you trusted it.
I trusted it. And I never, you know, you could be friends with anyone in there. And I was like, I have no interest in being friends with him. And I didn't think he was evil. I didn't think anything like that.
You just had a weird feeling.
Yeah. But it really threw me off. And after I saw that, I was like, oh shit.
When you have that feeling about someone, because I'm sure he's not the only person in the world you've met and are like, the energy's off.
Yeah.
Do you always trust that?
We talked earlier about like for sure, the weird manipulative narcissist type, it's immediate almost. And I'm like, and it's always like narcissist. But do you
trust your gut in not getting involved?
For sure.
That's what I mean. Yes. Like every time you have a bad feeling about someone, you're pretty resolute.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Especially with the narcissist types.
That is the type of person I can usually identify. We were talking earlier and kind of, you know, wanting to make sure that we say what is important. Like I think sometimes we as people can get manipulated and not trust our intuition. So this episode's really to validate people following their gut feeling. And when I meet someone, I sometimes get a feeling like this person's a bad person. Yeah. And I will trust that implicitly. I have never really been wrong either. There's a few people I can think of specifically that, and not even for evil reasons, but like narcissistic reasons. Some for, you know, I got a creepy feeling and it was a little bit worse, but I have never, ever regretted following my gut instinct when I felt like someone was a bad person. Yeah. Now people make mistakes and I think there's a difference between first impressions and maybe someone comes off a little annoying or like they're trying to impress you and you're like, oh, that was annoying. But I don't have like a bad sinking feeling about them, let's say. But when I do have a bad feeling, I trust it. I never ever doubt that. I will say I'm very, very good about following that gut instinct.
Over someone else's judgment. Sometimes someone will introduce me as this person like, oh, this is my friend. And immediately over them saying that they're my friend, I'm like, nope, this dude, there's something up. It's always been narcissistic dudes where I'm like,
You can just tell when someone's so manipulative. Yeah, so can I actually. And one of them was a friend of my husband's loosely, like not a really good friend. It was a coworker and I had met him. I think it was one of those relationships where we were kind of, you know, considering taking him out of the coworker label and putting him into the friend label. Yes. And so like invited him to a couple of things outside of the workplace. This was a long time ago. And I just like, I don't like them. And I did not have a good reason to. They were so nice and just a little bit annoying, but I was like, I don't like them. Well, a couple years later, he was messaging, like he had a serious girlfriend and he was like messaging all of my friends, like hitting on them and being really creepy. And I said something to my husband and then their other friend, and they were like, oh, whatever. Like they did not believe me at first. And I was like, okay, well, the same guy ends up messaging one of my husband's friends, coworkers, like so outside of that circle, someone that they'd never met. Like he was just online, so creepy, like targeting women. Sure. And I was like, oh, well, I was right. I had no reason at the beginning. And then it started happening. And then it really happened. And I just had to let the chips fall where they may because I didn't have proof and I wasn't going to fight it. And I've also learned if you tell someone like too much, like I don't like that person or I don't like your boyfriend, they're going to just fight it. Yes. So at a certain point, you just have to set your own boundary and let other people figure it out for themselves.
Let God work it out. I have a sibling that introduced two people to me. Or no, we met one together in the same hangout. And this other dude, he's like, oh, this is my friend. And my brothers introduced people to me where I was like, oh, this dude's cool, whatever. But these two guys, one dude, I like immediately, I was like, I don't like his vibe. I don't like, it's too aggressive, something about him. And I had a really good friend. She was really good friends with him too. And I was like, no. He was just like super, like, you know, he would, first of all, when someone refers to gay people all the time as homosexuals, I'm like, red flag. Even you are talking of once. Like you own like a mega church. Like I already get that vibe. So it wasn't even, but it's not even little things like that. Immediately I got the instinct.
The immediate energy, right?
And then over time I was like, oh, he's saying it like that. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. He's really religious. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's really money hungry. And then later on, he's calling girls whores and blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. Selling coke on the side and, of course. And like for getting blowjobs and stuff like that. And like trading blowjobs for cocaine. I'm like, scumbag.
But didn't it feel good that you had that feeling and you just followed it? Because then none of those things affected you.
And then my brother was like,
you followed your instinct.
He's like, oh my God, he like did this and that and that. I was like, you didn't have to tell me any of this. Like I knew this from the start.
Yes.
From the start. And the same with the other dude, like the same dude. He's like, oh, look at him. He's into the same thing we are. And then later on, he was cheating on his girlfriend that was like a little bit older than him. And he's like, late 20s, impregnated some girl that was like in high school. And I'm like,
yes.
So, that is.
You knew.
Yeah, I knew from the beginning.
I think I'm really, because I said it before, I'm really good. If I get a bad feeling about someone, I believe it and I trust it. Again, I've never been proven wrong. However, intuition, while I think we are all born with a level of it, it kind of depends like on your social skills and your comprehension skills, context clues. Like there's a lot of things that work into intuition.
And also if you were taught to suppress your feelings from a young age. So like if you had a parent that like brought uncomfortable people into your house and you were like, I feel wrong about this, but they were still allowed to come over all the time. Even if they didn't violate you or anything, you kind of like blunt what you just kind of like push your feelings away, your intuition aside.
And then it makes you not trust
yourself.
Yes. So I think it is something that you can reestablish and that you can grow.
For sure.
Because I have blind spots when it comes to my intuition.
Me too, girl.
I do trust myself on the bad people thing. That's great. I'm glad it has protected me from a couple situations. However, there are a lot of people who have ended up not being the best people who I didn't have that initial like bad feeling about. Mm-hmm. And well, if I'm being honest, maybe just a really small bad feeling, but one of those things that was like, maybe that was a first impressions thing. Yes. Maybe that was an awkward situation. And for some reason, there's a type of person, there's an archetype out there that has my heart. And I think it's if they have a little bit of a tragic story, if they've overcome something, then I, from the get-go, will really push away those red flags and not follow my intuition.
Yes.
And it's something that I've been burned by with friendships a lot. I don't do this as much with romantic partnerships. I'm not a fixer, but with friends, I have a lot more capacity to like accept red flags. That's been hard for me, but I think I can learn from those and use those and put them in my little brain bank and my heart and my gut bank. And like in the future, trust that initial intuition, even if it seems small, because every person I've had the tiniest little bit of doubt on, and it has just blown up
Yes.
in my face. And I haven't trusted my initial intuition, but I did have it.
But it's good.
But not strong enough to get me to fucking shut it down. I don't know what that is.
I think it's good that with hindsight, looking back like that and not self-blaming, but like if you're in a toxic relationship, it takes two to fucking tango. Like, not that you could be a victim to what's happening, but there is a part you are playing in it. Not necessarily that you're like doing it to yourself or whatever. Again, not a victim shaming thing, but like you're playing a part in some way or another. And I think it's good to realize, and that's where you can kind of put the pieces together.
You can put the pieces together. So in the future, if you meet someone who reminds you of that person, or if for a reason you have that gut feeling, you can go home. That's the great thing about intuition. And think about it. Like, if you go out and meet a group of friends and one of the people rubbed you the wrong way, it is so much easier to set that boundary right then.
Yes.
Then pursue the relationship and then kind of, again, beat off these red flags. Now, I have also been proven wrong and for the positive. Like, I haven't given someone a chance and not even just, they're fine, but I'm not pursuing a friendship. And over time, they've kind of shown me what a wonderful person they are. That is how I would like to proceed going forward with friendships, with a little bit more caution, because if it's not a hell no, I'm like, hell yes. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. It should not be like that. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no until I prove otherwise.
Yeah.
So I need to stop just trusting my most like, guttural, visceral instincts on the nose and just start having a little more reservation until people prove me wrong. Because I feel like my intuition can be really off with people and easily swayed. I've gotten burned and hurt because I'm like, no, I'm not going to follow what my gut says because I'm just being silly, and no more of that.
Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of like designing your life, even relationship wise. Like, handpicking friends sounds so superficial, but I think it's all right to be like, this is the energy I allow in my life. This is another energy I will allow in my life. I can love you from afar, but this is not part of my life. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I'm a bad person because I'm not letting them in. It's like,
But you're trusting that you know your past experiences. Yes. If a friendship hasn't worked out with a similar personality type, probably won't work out again. There's a lot of things that go into this. One of my friends said to me recently, actually, like, she's like, you've really handpicked your friend group. And I think she's right with everyone who's left. There have been quite a few like fallouts though over the past 10 years. And I'm so proud of a lot of my friends. But I have made the mistake of like, having that gut feeling that maybe they're not the best person, but I'm kind of like, okay, but they've had a hard life and they've come through so much. So like, if they continue to grow, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that they want to grow.
For sure.
And I need people to prove things to me, like, and trust that very first instinct of, if I'm weary at all, I don't need to go 100% into a friendship. I was someone who kind of bounced around best friends, always maintained the same core group, but would kind of run and flock with different people. And I don't know if it's always worked for me. So that's something in my 30s. I mean, I'm turning 28 next week. As I go into my 30s and get closer, I just need to really follow my gut. And not only that, but my friends' guts. Because I've had friends tell me like I shouldn't have friendships with certain people. And if they're brave enough to say that, they're not catty people. They probably mean it.
Good point.
I need to listen.
I don't really have friends that do that. I don't.
That warn you?
That warn me.
Okay.
Yeah, which is not. Maybe I should start handpicking friends. I have really bad trust issues when it comes to letting people in. I have my core group that I keep in contact with. They're mostly family members, but it's hard for me to let people in. Though this relationship, especially and with Ilya too, it's been very wasn't intuitive for me. I was just like, boom, this works.
But I didn't have a gut feeling that was bad.
Yeah, me neither.
Because I've had other people I've mentioned that like I wanted to do endeavors with, and then I just kind of fell off. I've done short-term endeavors with other people as well that I was like, oh, you're doing a service for me or whatever. We're having a small partnership, but not like starting a company.
Yes.
And I've had some of those fail. And the reason I didn't like hire them on as a full-time whatever is because I have started to trust my intuition more. I read a quote and I liked this. I sent it to Alex this morning. But before we kind of move into instinct and then maybe talk a little more about signs, like maybe some red flags like that we should follow. I Albert Einstein, which I like him because as a scientist, he still believed in something else. He wasn't like Stephen Hawking's where he was like, there's nothing. Yeah. Who also, apparently he has some secrets. He's been to Epstein's Island.
Oh,
did you know?
Of course.
But Albert Einstein said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift.
Yes.
I thought that was beautiful. I was
think
like,
so.
I need to trust myself. Truly.
Sure.
I can rationalize like, oh, they've been through a lot. That's why they're like that. No, stop
That's society.
it. If you feel like something isn't a match, not everything's a love match, let it go. And that's something I need to work on and protect myself because it's a great lesson.
It's a great lesson to learn from other people. Like when they've had a hard life, like to sit there and let them open up and talk about it. But
they don't need to be your best friend.
Oh
Why do I do this? Because I'm so good. I have so many incredible friendships that I feel so strongly confident in. But I never had that pit in my stomach.
Yes.
I will say that. Yeah.
But the narcissistic
friendship episode.
We for sure should. Yeah, red flags and all that stuff, and cool, like great, like whys and like what and
how to have healthy and nurture healthy friendships and make friends as an adult. We'll do an episode
conflicts and
maybe
breakdowns.
Next time, honestly, about that because this episode will lend really nicely into that.
Yes,
but so narcissism.
Sure.
You were saying.
I was thinking we did talk a little bit about it. I think I have because being on YouTube showing my face, like the audacity of someone to be like, I have something to say that you need to hear, and I'm going to say it into a microphone and
record it, upload it. Yes.
I'm not a narcissist. Mm-hmm. I have probably narcissistic tendencies, probably coming from like trying to overcompensate as a kid from having a brother that was like needed more attention. So I would be the performer. You know what I mean? Like that was me.
You were trying to like grab it back.
Yes. Okay. And that was my way of being funny, being louder, being, all that. So I think that's why I can tell with the narcissistic dudes, mostly dudes, because with girls, sometimes I'm off. I'm still worrying about you. Just kidding. I'm totally joking.
Hey, my therapist said I wasn't a narcissist or a sociopath.
Hell yeah.
I asked.
My narcissist. My therapist said I wasn't either, but I don't have a therapist. Okay, just kidding. but I can always tell with narcissistic dudes. Mm-hmm. And we talk about like we project our shadow onto the world. And maybe that is a little bit of it because I have a little bit of like this, like I have something to say and you need to listen. And these dudes were those types, but they were very flipped. They were like, oh yeah, like blah, blah, blah. They would say stuff and just the way they were coming off, I'm like, something's not right here. Something's not right here. You're too confident about this and you're so right that I don't think you are open to seeing where you're wrong about. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, I think where I'm different, maybe, I don't know.
Right, I know.
But I hate my blind spots. I think, whatever. But,
we all have them.
Yes. But that's what I've noticed. I think it's weird.
I'm really good as I sit here and just think of it now, and as we're talking about this, because I think this is really good for me, especially as my birthday comes up. I don't really do New Year's resolutions, but birthdays are really important to me. So I like to kind of think of a new challenge I can take on every year. And one year it was like my hair, just like treating my hair nicely. It's like one thing a year, but I needed to, like I was, anyway. So I like to reflect, and this year I think I'm ready for something more impactful than the state of my hair.
What would that be?
I don't know. We're going to see. But as I'm sitting here, I'm just like thinking about my own blind spots.
Yeah.
What I'm able to identify, what I'm able to trust my gut on is like narcissistic, privileged people piss me off. Like immediately, that's where I'm good at setting a boundary. It's when I have a narcissistic, underprivileged person or someone who is a victim of something, my intuition gets thrown to the fucking wind and I just have this faith and hope in them that they'll, rise from the ashes. And I just get so disappointed. And I'm like, you're too caught up in that pain that you haven't healed from. Yes. And I can keep you in my life, but I jump to that like really close friend and almost trauma bond with people. Sure. And it's just like, God damn it. Because I do think I am healed from a lot of those traumas. I don't carry that with me. I don't complain about it. It's not part of my personality.
Yeah.
So I get really frustrated with that. And that's why I'm realizing my blind spot is. So I think just protecting myself and my bubble instead of trying to be so nice to everyone. Like that's, it's like, what if I'm not? What if I'm just kind and patient and giving, but like we don't need to, I don't need to be there for you and you there for me 24/7.
Totally.
Once
I
a
think
month.
kindness is important. Nice is not a facade. There's a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy talking about how being not quote unquote nice, there's a debt that you put on something.
The nice people are sometimes the worst.
They're like, oh, I had a coworker that he was like, oh, helped me out one time. And he was like, oh, this is what nice people do to each other. And I was like, this is what nice people do for each other. And I was like, there's a debt
Keeping
that
track.
you just placed on me subconsciously. I don't think it's like malicious, but so kindness
also,
is
like,
important. Yeah.
Kindness is important. And I need to be better at reading that versus like the nice facade.
Yes.
When Alex was telling me earlier about that kid from camp that he was pretty weary of, I remember, and again, I don't hold this against myself. I'm not like mad at myself for not picking up on it, but I do want to be conscious of my blind spots so that I can in the future intuitively know that something's not right versus like having to think so hard about it. I want to feed my intuition. So in high school, there was a teacher at my school, beloved by all. And it turns out he was, producing and redistributing child. He ended up dying of cancer, which is crazy. It was this really crazy story, but I had no idea. I'd been to his house before, through drama, like theater. I had to pick stuff up. He was a really nice guy. And so I do think I have good intuition on a lot of things. I also think that I don't fucking pick up on stuff sometimes. Yeah. I'm too trusting. I'm too hopeful and too much of an optimist sometimes. And I would rather that than be so cynical.
Yeah, of course.
But I need to set a better boundary. And
for sure.
So that's something I want to work on and trust that gut feeling.
Scary. Someone in your close member in your community. Yeah. That is so, that like
we
give
were
me chills.
disgusted. And I was like 17. So I think I was able to like kind of absorb it and let it go.
Totally.
Versus, if I'd been older maybe, but I didn't have that close of a relationship with him. I just had close proximity with him.
If we had strong intuitions, because I think the way our society works, we do dull it and blunt it a bit. If we had strong intuitions, you think someone would have picked up on it? You think that's like something that we can pick up on?
I think there are some people out there who would have picked up on it.
Yeah.
But I do feel as if this guy was particularly hard to read and he had pretty much a whole community.
That's what it's
they
like.
They just had no idea. None of us knew.
Like
None of us knew.
Politicians, pastors, priests, these dudes, but chicks too. They all are at nice. They're giving value to their community. Bill Cosby's of the world, doing public speaking engagements, donating money.
Yeah.
That is what.
And it's okay to not trust. I think that's what I have to learn. It's okay to not trust them and to make them prove that they are as nice as they say they are. That is something I am working on in my interpersonal and professional relationships.
Totally. And I just remembered this. I wouldn't even write this down. I have been someone that's like thrown off. So my mom one time called me. I was worried. And my mom's she has like kind of dreams that are very prophetic. She has like these very strong dreams. And she one time called me. I'm at night. This is when I was living in Portland by myself, and I had like $2.80 in my account or something crazy. Okay. And then I went to the grocery store and bought like 3 organic potatoes and took the organic stickers off so I can pay like $1 for them.
Thief.
And went to bed, and I was like, shit, dude, I'm like waiting for my paycheck on Friday. Rent is due on Thursday. And like, I'm like freaking out about money in my mind.
Like I'm stealing potatoes.
And I'm literally I didn't steal it, but
I know, but yes.
I was in bed worrying about it. My mom calls me and she's like, I feel like you're struggling with money. Is everything okay? It was like
mother's intuition.
It was nighttime. And it was like it was midnight there, I think, or whatever. We have a 3-hour difference. And I was like, no, I'm fine. So we play a part in cutting off throwing off people's intuition too.
Right. If you don't acknowledge something
because of pride, because of ego.
So true. Like when people are like, I got a bad feeling about this person. I did that. I invalidated a lot of people's intuition about a couple friendships of mine, but it wasn't on purpose, but I was being dishonest. Cause I was like, oh, I see a different side of them. And I would really dismiss them. And they had feelings about people and I'd be like, no, you're wrong. And like, who am I? So I've apologized to friends of mine currently for friendships I've had in the past. Literally had just apologized for not trusting
Sorry,
them,
Mom.
for
I've
not
never apologized
feeling
yet.
my intuition and not letting it speak and using my logical, hopeful, rational, optimistic mind.
Yeah.
So it is very fascinating. But I think if Albert Einstein says it and we say it, follow your intuition, people.
Please. And pinpoint it, learn what it is, help it grow. Because I do think we can flex that muscle.
That's what I'm saying. I really think you can follow the tendencies, the traits, how people talk.
Yes.
You can really pick up on a lot. You can study people. And that's what I'm focusing on right now.
For sure.
And studying their actions. Actions speak louder than words. I mean, if someone says something horrible, believe that too. But in terms of giving a chance, I need to give less of a chance to every single person. It's just something I'm working on and follow that gut feeling. And if I don't have a bad gut feeling, I'm not going to like hold that against someone, but I still need to get a little bit more because you can also get an intuition about a situation halfway through.
Yes.
And, it's like one other thing on this. And then I really do want to move to instinct because I think that's cool with like the generational stuff.
Yes.
I had an experience where I was supposed to go on a trip. And I'd planned it. I bought the ticket. I'm like 19 I had to be 21 because I was going to Vegas. So I had to be 21 and I was going to go with one of my very good friends and then two of her good friends who I didn't know very well. I'm always down for that. I love meeting new people. In fact, I'm almost more down. I'm like, none of my friends. This is fun. New people, new situation, kind of get to be who I want to be that weekend. But I just got this feeling like 3 weeks before that it wasn't good. I was like, I just have this feeling I'm going to have a really bad time. I don't feel like it's going that well. The planning isn't as exciting as I thought it would be. Nothing was overtly wrong, but I did have this feeling that this trip, I would end up spending more money on it and more time on it than it was worth than just canceling my trip and losing the ticket, the value of the ticket. And so I did. And my friend gets back and she was like, it was the worst trip I've ever been on. So when I do have a strong intuition, I do tend to follow it.
Yes.
But this has to, like, I was halfway in. You can lose money. You can break up with someone. You should not just stay because you didn't realize it first. So I'm most proud of myself when I can see something in the middle of a situation and end it before it blows up in my face. That's a fucking win to me.
For sure. I have moments, last anecdote here, but I would, when I'm dating someone, I figure this happens to me randomly.
Okay.
And I'll like wake up at night. And when someone's laying there sleeping, you're not arguing. If you're in a bad relationship, you're not arguing with them. They're not arguing back. They're not thinking anything negatively. They're just in space or in another dimension or whatever, dreaming. So I wake up at night and I look at them while they're sleeping in their most innocent, vulnerable state. And I punch them. No, I'm just kidding.
Shut up. Oh my gosh.
And I look at them and I'm like, I immediately get a thought, a feeling, all this combination of things, nothing to do with what happened that day. Sometimes we had a great day. Sometimes everything went well. And it dawns on me. I'm like, this is not a long-term romantic relationship. What's happening right now is like, it either shouldn't have happened or like I get the reasoning in that moment from waking up at night. Yes. I waking up at night and like looking at them for some reason. That's happened like 4 times.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you get the same sometimes sudden intuition about positive things? Do you ever wake up? Have you ever thought like this is right?
That. No, I'm working on that. I mean, clearly I'm single.
If you guys want a dating episode, harass him.
Yeah, please.
It's coming.
DM me.
Okay, let's move into instinct.
Yeah.
Because I think you know a little more about that in terms of just what you were saying with the like how we hold it in our body and like the animalistic side.
Yeah. What I really know is, like I was saying before, like our society is just based so much on getting to work, making sure you can make it there on time, like the cars and the gas, even the way the gas tanks are, even the medical system, the way we check into it and all that stuff and giving birth and all of it is based not around our biology in the way we've been for so long. I really do think that our society was just not created based on all of that. The way we build our buildings is not based on nature or anything. So it's like we're just so detached from it. So I do think that's why we don't really follow our instincts. I do think instinct is really important and we still can apply it to this stuff, but we don't nurture it. I've had impulsive, I don't know if it was intuitive or if it was instinctual, but when I moved out of the house when I was 19, I had no right or any financially or anything, but I knew I had to leave. Like
totally.
Outside of coming out, outside of everything, I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here.
I do think that is more instinctual. I do. Because even though by definition it's like immediate, I've done things fairly immediately.
Yes.
Like intuition is more a feeling that you kind of think about and consider and weigh or whatnot.
Yes.
But instinct, I had the same thing when I left college. I was a senior in college. I had my lease for my senior year. I had an apartment. I was enrolled in classes. They were all going to be math classes. And I just swear to God, I just knew I wanted to stop drinking. I wanted to stop the Adderall. I wanted to stop being a bitch. I wanted to stop being unhappy. I wanted to like make money and have a life. And like, I didn't care about my degree nearly as much as I did about my happiness. And I just had this instinct, like if you don't leave now, it's only going to get worse. Like you've hit your low point. Don't sink further. Like change it or you are gone. Because I probably would have failed my senior year of college. Didn't fail the other years, but I just had a feeling my heart wasn't in it. My mind wasn't in it. And I called my dad and I said, I'm coming home and I'm coming home and I'm not going back to school. And he was like, what do you mean? Because it was like June of my junior year. So like I just finished my junior year going into senior year and I was supposed to stay for summer session. I said, I'm coming home for the summer and I'm not going back in the fall.
And instinctually,
I just had to leave.
Intellectually, if you looked at that on paper, you're like, this girl's dumb. She had it all for her.
I think I have 18 credits left or something.
It's but that's why it's like sometimes these things are even smarter than that brain part of it.
Because I don't know that I would have failed. I don't know what would have happened. I'm so glad I don't need to know. And I didn't, but at the time, that's all in retrospect and I still don't really know. But at the time I knew I had to leave and it has showed itself to me in a million different ways. Like I would never be where I am now. I met Ben 3 months later, my husband.
Oh,
like,
whoa.
Yeah. In September, I left in June, September, he moved here on an instinct. There was no logic.
Yeah. That's
other than
amazing.
Happiness.
Yes.
Which most people don't follow. It's the one time in my life I'm just like, thank you, God, for following that like happiness instinct.
Yes, this joy. Yes, pulling you towards your joy.
I had to.
Yes. There's sometimes it's an uncomfortable feeling. Another anecdote of it was probably very instinctual because I did a podcast. This was my last podcast when I was interviewing business owners and entrepreneurs and all that. And there was a woman, she's a lesbian, has a wife, and I interviewed her, did the whole thing, and I was like, I'm like having trouble like. There's me not coming out. It's not important to come out online, but like for some reason, this is weighing over my head of not being publicly out because for most people, it doesn't matter. For me, for some reason, it's weighing on me. And this woman, like for no reason, is like just messaging me nonstop on Instagram, giving me like a lifeline. Like this is something that like is not only so important for you. This doesn't mean anything to anyone. Of course, your sexuality, who you lay down, but for some reason you're being called to there. You have to figure this out because you need to come to terms with why you're not saying it, blah, blah, blah. I didn't even have to come to terms with it. I was sitting on my computer I didn't want to do any of it. I texted Jen and Christian and I was like, I don't know why, but I'm about to, it was so out of nowhere. I like within an hour after I texted them. I was like, I just need someone standing with me, even just emotionally being here with me. I texted them. I'm like, so I uploaded a 5-minute video of me just coming out to people online. It sounds kind of corny, but like, it was just like, there's so many people that didn't know. There's so many people I feel like I was living this double life. I just put it out online to my like
whole world.
The whole world. And there's still people till today that like the video, and that was like over a year ago. And
it was only a year ago. Oh my gosh, like, Alex, that's amazing.
But the feeling beforehand, like I was trying to rationalize it in every way. I'm like, there's no need. Why would people need to know who I'm sleeping with? Why do people need to know who I want to be romantically involved with?
But you had to do it.
But there was something that pulled me.
Yes.
And I turned the camera on and I just started talking to it. I love that. Yeah, it was all grainy and shit. And I looked like a hot mess. I almost cried during it. It was like a hot mess.
But that is that instinct. Like you even tried to talk yourself out of it. And you reacted in a way that there was no getting around it. You hit that point where you couldn't not.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about leaving school. It's how I felt about a lot of things. I mean, breakups, getting back together with people, friendships, jobs. Are you kidding me? It is, there becomes a point where instinct does take over, and it's like, it is like animalistic, like, because it doesn't make sense to the rational mind. Sure. Like why you had to right then, and you might not even know. And I do think, I don't know. I think that's what's cool. Intuition is a little softer of a feeling, I think. Where it's like, let me think about this. The instinct is you can't control it. Now, you might be able to put it off for a week. Like it might not be like fight or flight. We're not so literal here. But you can't fight it at a certain point. Totally. Without being depressed. Or like without, because people do fight it. But a lot of times, like, that is where suicide comes in. Yes, you know, like that's where it really is hard, when people fight that deep, deep, deep feeling. Totally. I heard a drag queen, her name's Jasmine Masters. Okay. Hilarious. She does like this whole thing, but she puts these insightful videos. For her, it's just like her going online and like talking shit. She's the one that does oop. Have you seen that? Yeah, her. For sure. So she put in this video, she was like talking about suicide awareness, because obviously she's in person is a Black guy. Yeah. And was saying how so many of his friends like all like either committed suicide or has suicidal thoughts or whatever. And he specifically said, like, in the deepest, darkest pit that you're laying in, that the answer may be right there. I agree. And it's like, and maybe we're so blinded by everything else that we can't see it. It's like a survival instinct. I mean, I knew, and I know the college thing seems not so profound. It is to me. I can feel it. I've had people like message me, and I'm dozens of people, maybe 100 people. You look so happy. I'm so happy for you. Like, seeing you leave has made me so happy. People I didn't even know were worried about me or cared about me, and just were like, it's been amazing watching you transform. Like, Chloe, you are just a different person. And that was more validating to me than anything. But I left college my senior year. Yes, and I moved home. I mean, you threatened to burn down your house. Like it was crazy. Details of it. That's why I think it's so profound, because I'm like, oh shit, like I know a little more of the details. Check out our other episodes. And I think I'd wanted to leave, but you're right. It was that darkest moment where the truth came out, and I had to follow it, or I had to accept a period of time of deep depression. And I'm so glad I left. I think of instinct like almost how like, because in the Amazon, for example, the indigenous tribes, you can like, there's trees and shit and fucking animals and insects and like crazy plants, but they can sprint through the woods without like touching anything. Without, maybe they get brushed with leaves or whatever, but they can jump and hop and where it's like almost like their mind is like all the way forward, and they're seeing things before it's even happening, so they can dodge it. It's amazing. So they're so tapped into it, and also they've been generation by generation been there in that spot. But yeah, that's what I think of it as. It's like you just move into it without any resistance. You already know what's going to come, and you know that it's the right move. Just let it go. Yes. You just got to let go of the reservations and just go with it. And yeah, I think it's important. I also think instinct in terms of like making smaller decisions. Yes. But no decision is small. If you're honestly having to think and weigh both sides, there is a right choice for sure. I hate when people say there's no wrong choice. That's not true. So it's so funny and stupid and easy. But if you are between two choices, if you are even between two choices, again, the answer is probably clear, but flip the coin. If you are thinking about moving to California or moving to Texas, and you flip the coin and it lands on Texas and you're not elated, then that you need to move to California. Like, again, I said earlier, and it doesn't have to be a hell yes. Like, it's okay to still make a choice because it's a yes, but that might not be bottom of the pit. This is my animalistic response. Like, this is what I have to do or I'm not going to survive. But it could be, where do I move next? Follow your instinct. Like, flip the coin. Tell someone, make a decision about something. And if you tell someone and put it out in the world, and then you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do that, then make the other choice. Totally. Like, I just think it's really important to test ourselves, and it can be as simple as flipping a coin. Totally. Like and with the instinctual thing, like sometimes it doesn't feel like that. It feels like you should do that, but it's like the coming out thing. Yeah. But you're like,
like my body was like, I was like tearing up. I couldn't even get myself to think about it. Even though I didn't even press the camera or turn it on or film it or anything. I was just thinking about it. I'm like tearing up. I'm like, oh my God. And that is a good feeling too. A good feeling in the sense of like, maybe that's the direction you should go.
It was uncomfortable. Yes, it was cathartic. Yeah. But you can feel it like,
yes.
You can feel a difference between the uncomfortable because it's bad for you and uncomfortable because it's a moment of growth and you might be giving up a past life. Like there are certain choices we make in this life that once you open that door, you can't go back.
For sure.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
For sure. Yeah. Cause you can't, yeah.
Like moving to San Diego, like we expanded our business. We announced it. We told our family and friends and we put it out in the world and we had to do it. And then you do it and then you move somewhere and you choose and you're like, I'm here. And I paid thousands of dollars to get my pod here and all the other stupid fucking shit that goes into moving. But it's like, there is going back. You can always go back, but there's no going back. Like, and it feels so right. Like it was a choice. Like I had a business there. We talked about this in the moving episode, but there was an instinct that I had to get out of there and I had to go here. And it wasn't even bad there. It's just my heart felt like something would be better here. And look at it now. I'm so happy. I love where we live. I don't regret at all choosing this weird ass town, even though there's no one here. And who is here
has at least 6 cars in the front of their driveway.
And I yell at them publicly about it. No, I actually love the people I've met here.
Yeah.
I was talking to Ben and I was talking to one of my other friends from the city, from Seattle. And I really enjoyed living here because it's given me an opportunity to connect with people who are very similar to me, but present very differently, who grew up with less, like maybe superficial things that they care about. They care a little bit less about presentation and back to intuition. Part of things that you take in when you're judging a person is how they look, how they talk, their cadence, what they talk about, how they smell, everything. And you get this intuition. In the past, wrongly, I've definitely had an intuition that I wouldn't be friends with certain people if they don't dress like I dress, if they don't care about looking modern or, fashionable or whatever. And
don't look at me. I'm just kidding.
Yes,
that's a good point. That's a good
I've
point.
just really loved it. It's been really eye-opening to me that people like you come in all shapes and sizes and packages.
Shapes? I'm just kidding.
And I fucking love it. It's just, it's been good for me.
For sure.
I wouldn't have, I don't think I even was very superficial, but I'm a lot less superficial now.
Yeah. I mean, I never got a superficial vibe from you. You have a bougie vibe exteriorly, but you don't judge people based on you can tell when someone's like, oh, I don't judge. I don't see color. I don't do that.
Oh my gosh,
you can see just by the way they talk, by the way they like look at people that they judge, but you don't actually judge.
No.
But you do like Audi cars and SUV, like a pearl white Audi SUV.
I love my car.
Yes.
But I never judged, but I never really thought the opportunity was there for me to be close to someone who didn't like maybe. And when I say look, I'm talking like fashion sense, like the kind of clothes we wear. And I don't wear like big name brands or anything like that, but just you wear the same kind of uniform as your group of people.
Yes.
And I like how I look. I like, how I present myself. I like my furniture. People here probably don't have the velvet couch.
Purple, lavender, purple, probably
maybe not. But they are so similar to me. And that's been really good for me because I followed my intuition in a judgy way. And so maybe I wasn't following my intuition before. Maybe I was just using what I thought I knew in my head. And so it's been really nice. And I think I'm getting the chance to like explore who I am outside of the parameters of what I've known as society.
For sure. Mine, for sure, moving here was an intuitive kind of feeling of staying here because the aesthetic of a mountain town is like nice and cute.
It also fits you though.
And it also fits me well.
I think you fit here.
Yes.
In every way.
Yes. And I've not been this close with people, even politically, and like, not politically, because it's not some, I'm learning from you that it's like, it's outside of politics. The politics show like who you what you're thinking of.
It just forces you to define things. It makes you answer questions that are hard to answer sometimes.
But then I'm listening to them, and a lot of times that they're different politically, they still believe, the lesson I'm learning is they still believe in like human rights. It's skewed in their perception, but it's not the same as mine. So I'm like, it gave me a lot of comfort, like knowing that it's like, it seems like different on paper, but their ideas are different. And exteriorly stuff didn't really matter to me, how they look or present or anything like that. It was just like what's going on in their head. And sometimes they present like, oh, this house has the same vibe. I love the way this looks. And then you sit down and talk to them and you're like, oh.
And I guess I just assumed because like the mountain vibe is not my vibe, that everyone who lived in that way was opposite of me. And so I think this has been a really good practice in, again, honing that intuition, because I'm bringing more people into my repertoire that will help me understand humanity a little bit better. I'm interacting and becoming friends with people that I wouldn't have before, not because I thought they were bad people, but because I was like, oh, I don't think we'd have that much in common.
Yeah.
You know, it's more that. And it's like, oh, we have so much in common. And I'm just really enjoying these new friendships I'm making, which is why I think I really want to do that friendship episode next.
Hell yeah.
Because I'm so happy. And I just feel like all of my friendships in life right now are the ones that my heart told me from the beginning, like, oh, I love them.
Yes.
Like, they're best friends of mine that I'm like, I loved the day I met them. They're still in my life, like 12 years later. And there are other friends I was like, oh, they were really fun. We should hang out again.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh, they were kind of mean to that person. Oh, they're kind of negative all the time. Oh, but we've now become friends and we've done, 10 things together. And we've been at every birthday for the last 6 years. And I'm like, oh shit. But I do feel like I'm finally in a place where everyone close in my life, I really do. Like, I'm like, oh, these are the people I had a good heart gut feeling about.
From the beginning.
Now going forward, I want to save myself the pain of jumping into bed, as they say, with people who maybe don't make me feel that secure.
Totally. Hell yes.
So it's important to trust yourself.
Yes. I was going to say that earlier, is that's building that intuition, is you gotta trust yourself.
And you can get out of stuff. If things halfway through don't feel good, get out, do it. You're not a failure for not having sensed it at first. You're stronger for figuring it out and leaving.
Yes.
I think there's one other thing I want to touch on.
Yes.
Before we go into our listener segment of a little batch of stories. Intuition is not being afraid of like flying, I think. And that's something I've had to understand as someone with anxiety. So I do want to touch on this. I'm afraid of flying, even if there's no trip planned.
Yes.
It makes me anxious to think about. I think about terrorism. I think about, someone having a gun or hijacking the plane, all of that. I think about the plane crashing and falling out of the sky.
Yes.
So when I go to the airport and I have a trip coming up and I've started traveling a lot more, and I've had to logically talk myself out of what I think is intuition.
Yes.
Because being afraid that someone's going to bomb the plane every time you fly is not a gut feeling that you should follow. If you have a feeling like not to go on a trip with a certain group of people, that you can consider intuition, right? Like your body's telling you no. But if you're just afraid of flying, that's not an excuse to never fly.
For sure.
Like if you're afraid even when it's not in front of you, then that's not intuition. You just have anxiety.
Yes.
So I just want to put that out there. Like people are like, oh, I had a bad feeling about this concert. I'm not going to go. Well, no shit. We've had a million mass shootings at concerts. I'm also scared of it. And that's reason enough to not go. But just say that and acknowledge it. Like, hey, I don't really want to go out until our gun policies are safer at like a pride event. Just say that. But that's not really your gut feeling. That is completely like evidence-based of like, hey, this has happened, or it's irrational, like a plane falling out of the sky, but you're just scared of it. So just be wary. Don't stop your life because of like quote unquote intuition when it's just, that's anxiety, friends.
Oh,
get
for
medicated,
sure. And
get a therapist.
Racism. I've had people in Massachusetts because it's so
what?
close to
Wait, what?
Some people that are from New Hampshire go to Massachusetts and they're like, I got a
What
bad
is
feeling
racism?
I got a bad feeling about these people coming in right now. And it's a group of, it's like a black family.
Like where?
In New
Hampshire. Like at a restaurant?
Yeah.
What
like,
context are you talking about?
In that kind of setting, just a normal setting where you're like, I don't know about them. I don't know about them.
Oh yeah,
and
that's racism.
Like, that's for sure. Or like a woman coming in with a hijab on. And it's like, oh, I got a bad gut feeling about this
one. Oh, shut the
one.
fuck up. Yes, you're
That's
right.
what I'm saying.
Yes,
so
yes.
Be very wary. And there's situations like that where maybe we, in
it's
our
your
version
bias.
of it, yes, bias,
Racism.
where you think it's a gut feeling. Maybe not.
No, you're just a dick.
Maybe you just like have a weird preconceived notions. I didn't want to say that.
That's a really fair point. No, that's really good. So I think there are a few things when it comes to relationships, trips with people, jobs, moving. We didn't get super into jobs, but when you have a bad boss or when you need to leave, just trust yourself. Leave.
Yes.
There's always, it'll work out. But yes, planes crashing, bombings happening at big stadiums,
Racism.
thinking that a Black person walking down the street across from you, that's not a gut feeling, you got problems, you should get help.
Yeah.
So let's just clear that up. There you go. That's our end statement. Don't be a racist. Can I do a plug?
Yeah.
Okay, before we do listeners, this is my plug. Obviously, I'm a wedding planner. So I was talking to the Knot and Wedding Wire for anyone listening that's heard of that, which is pretty much anyone who's engaged, been married, or getting married. They're like the biggest website that you can do for your wedding registry and whatnot. So it's a company everyone knows. You do wedding planning through it. And then like vendors like myself can advertise on it and get like reviews and whatnot. So it's great. It's just a wedding resource. So I set up a call this morning to get a profile set up 3 years later. Oops. And they asked me as a business owner during this, consult if I would accept all weddings. And I was like, hell yeah. Like I'd marry 3 people if I could.
That's a ruffle.
I'll do whatever. And he goes, okay, great. And I was like, yeah, anyone, all sexes, religions, orientation. I don't care. Sure. It was just a question. And I was like, let me make sure. And I was like, yeah, yep. And he said, well, that's great. And if you had said no, we would have to put a cold stop to the call, and they won't advertise for anyone or let anyone pay to advertise that won't accept everyone.
Whoa.
Which I thought was so cool. And he told me.
And what is it called again?
The Knot and Wedding Wire. So Zola, you better be the same. I don't know. But that was so cool to me. And he said that he was talking to someone literally yesterday who 30 minutes into the call said, he actually won't service the LGBTQ community. And the guy said, oh, well, you're not a fit for us. Bye.
Whoa.
I thought that was amazing.
Very cool.
I thought that was great because they go really heavy on pride. Like it's rainbows and men kissing and women kissing everywhere and women in suits and men in dresses, or you know what I mean? Like they find the most fun editorial, like gay weddings, and kind of splash it everywhere. And I fucking love it. But until today, I didn't have like a personal confirmation that they weren't just like queer baiting or performative. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So if you are a couple, use them. Again, I don't actually know about Zola because I didn't talk to them, but Wedding Wire and Knot are safe, open, accepting places. Yes. I loved it. I just thought I would call it out.
Yes, totally. I love that. That was really good.
I thought it was awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so a little listener segment. Why don't you start?
Okay.
Why don't you start and share?
God. Okay, so since we're talking about a little bit of like, it kind of was a little paranormal almost. Like we were talking about like this esoteric topic-ish with the intuition and all that. So we're like, let's talk about paranormal stuff. Like what's a creepy story? What's this creepy story that people have been in? So my mom put
Ivanette.
Thank
She's
you
our biggest for being fan. Our supporter.
Yes. So she
Can I tell you before you started, she responded in the little answer box on Instagram and just started going. And I don't know when it cut her off, but it does cut you off on those answer boxes. And I could tell she was riled up. And then the story went blank. So what you're about to tell me
is the rest.
Is new to me. I have no idea. So I'm ready, Ivanette. I've been waiting for this story.
Oh my God. Okay. So my mom got what she says is possessed by a demon when she was younger.
Fabulous.
Which is fabulous. And so exorcisms happen all throughout the world.
Yes.
With people with no internet connection, with nothing, no outside influences. So for some reason, this is, I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying, but for some reason, this is something that happens all the time. There is some crazy people that film them and like make a ton of money off it. But there is
like exorcisms are a ritual in a lot of cultures.
all
And is
different
it all,
religions.
so I know it's Catholic. Is it all different religions?
Protestantism, evangelicals.
Is it just a Christian thing though?
Muslim cultures have
Really?
it too.
They
Yeah,
do.
I forget the name of what the demons
What
are
it's called.
called.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I
Yes.
did think that was just like a Christian person thing.
No, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So when my mom was, I'm going to paraphrase a lot of this, but she was younger. She was early teens.
And she was Christian?
Well, they just started going to church, and like they had a Bible in their house for a while, and like
they had a Bible in their house.
Yeah, like my grandma and her would go to church service together.
Okay, I was just curious, like what her background with religion was when
Before
this happened.
That, they were just like non-practicing Catholics.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So she had a night terror. She woke up in not a night terror, it was a morning terror, I guess. She woke up screaming like crazy one morning. It was her early teens, and she started screaming for her mom to not leave her alone. Don't leave her alone. Don't leave her alone. So she just would be with her mom, I guess, like for, as close to her as possible physically in the same room as much as they could together. It took about 30 days for this whole it took about 30 old days, and 24 hours a day, someone was just like watching over her, like we're nonstop, because she would just do crazy things out of character. If you meet my mom, she's very, normal.
Like what?
Yeah. So one thing she did was, she was just like brushing her hair in front of the mirror, and then she said her face in the mirror turned into like this scary face, and she dropped everything and she started screaming as loud as she could, like,
oh my God,
passes out. And this would happen also, and this actually happens a lot with people that are like quote unquote possessed by demons, is they'll pass out after like a fit,
like an episode.
Yeah, an episode.
Okay.
And then another kind of anecdotes things that she was talking one day, and she was washing the dishes one day, and
this is all during that month. This is like, okay.
And so her grandma, my grandma, her mom was there in the room in the kitchen. She's washing dishes, and then all of a sudden, like immediately, all these crazy thoughts start coming in her head. She's like, I'm gonna fuck this whole place up. I'm gonna shatter these dishes. I'm gonna start cutting myself. I'm gonna do all these things.
Okay.
And then she started screaming, and telling her mom, and she started telling her mom all this stuff.
What?
And she having a fit and all this stuff, and then passes out again.
Okay.
And then this guy ended up pastor, really down to earth, non-judgmental. She was super embarrassed by it. She didn't want her mom to tell anyone. She was just like, this is my teenage years, and like it's being wasted on. Oh my gosh. Okay. So possessed by a demon.
Okay. So that's what they thought. They all like agreed.
That was the consensus.
Okay. It was not mental health. They didn't think it was.
No. This is a tiny mountain town in Brazil with a church, and they lived out in, the middle of nowhere.
And after it was resolved, has she ever had anything like this happen again?
No.
Well, then maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe it was a demon.
Maybe. And so she humiliated. So then they started contacting a pastor that was really chill. He would come in and talk a little bit and start going through things with her, and then he would leave. And then one day, but she wouldn't have a fit in front of him. So then one day, her mom was like, okay, it's time for us to read the Bible. They would do it like once or twice a day. And then my mom was just like immediately got super angry. She's like, no. And then she was young. She was a fucking little girl, and she slammed on the counter, and the Bible flipped over and fell on the ground. And my grandma was like, oh shit. Okay, we got to call the pastor now.
Oh my gosh.
So then she started, so the pastor came over, immediately dropped everything what he was doing, and they fasted for about 3 days or 48 hours.
What the fuck?
Fasted, no food, no nothing, just water, and prayed like just the whole time, and eventually exorcised the demon out of her eventually. I don't know what that looks like.
Did she go into that? What the exorcism was like?
No. Well, it was just like, again, prayer and then her arguing back and stuff like that. It's just like a little bit. The movies.
Did she feel it
totally
leave her? Did she feel a presence leave her?
She passed
again.
Out. Yeah.
So she passed out multiple times during this whole month
episode, month or two. Yeah. And and it never happened. But she did talk about it. My mom's so good with not like fucking trauma dumping on her kids in childhood.
Yeah.
Like she never talked about it until we were like at least 16 or 17 until she started talking about it. Yes. Fun.
Well.
But
not everyone can say they've been possessed by a devil.
I know. And like specifically stuff like that where she was like over the weirdest part was she was like, doesn't talk or think like that at all. But she's
And
like,
then
I'm gonna fuck this place up. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna cut myself up with these dishes. Like,
and then she was fine.
and then she passed out, and she would wake up and be fine.
Because usually it's just like the beginning of a
crazy
mental illness or something.
And my mom never showed any signs of like, she would get angry if she got
they
like
got the devil out of you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny in Christianity, it's not the devil. People say that all the time. It's a demon, because in hell, there's a ton of different demons, and Satan is the leader of all of it, but he's also tied up in hell, so he can't do anything. So he has to send his minions. Logically, makes no sense.
Yeah, that's more just like interpretation.
Yeah.
Because in Catholicism, it's kind of just like Satan.
Yeah.
And he can take many forms, but it's like one evil.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Fun.
Well, Ivanette, I'm glad you're okay.
She's great now, actually.
She's actually amazing.
Yeah.
I just asked on the stories, other than paranormal stuff, just any incidences of like the happy accidents or following your intuition or whatever, just to hear some inspiring things for anyone who needs to get, I don't know, to leave him, to break up with the guy, to break up with the job. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I think that's what is helpful. This is the real life application of intuition. It's like getting yourself out of situations you shouldn't be in.
Yes. After our little exorcism break there.
Beautiful. Really just scary.
Terrifying.
Yeah, really scary. I just don't know how to take it, you know?
Because you're living out in the middle of fucking nowhere. There's no saving. You can't call the police.
No, that's really
You can't kill this, or you can't arrest it, or you can't have it be removed from court or buy it out. You can't do anything. It's crazy.
It's really weird.
Yeah. Anyways, continue.
One of the responses we got was really interesting. And this was more just a happy accident. One of those things where it's like, it wasn't because of a feeling. It just happened that way, but saved the person's life, which I think a lot of people have had that situation. But someone's dad, their best friend, missed the second flight for 9/11.
Oh, shit.
That was one of the responses. So no one who got on that flight did anything wrong. I think that's the hard part about being a survivor of something like that. Cause like he was supposed to be on the flight. He had a ticket for that flight. He can never make that go away, but he didn't get on that flight and he didn't die. But that does affect you.
For sure.
And like, you're so grateful that you're alive, but also like survivor's guilt. So I thought that was really interesting. It wasn't because of a feeling. It was because they missed their flight. Yeah. It was that easy. Yeah. It was the second flight out. And it was just like, that's not even intuition or instinct. It's that other thing we can't define. Yeah. You know? So it's really, it is just a coincidence, I guess. It's just
I don't really like in Christianity where they would be like, God blessed them.
No, because then the other people who passed away in 9/11,
like God's like, no,
fuck them.
Bad, fuck
exactly.
Them.
No, I don't like that either. So it's one of those things. It happened.
Or they had a higher purpose than these other people.
No, it happened and those are the facts. Like that. So it's just really weird response we got. So I was like, okay.
Whoa, that's
interesting.
Trippy.
Scary.
Yes.
And a lot to go through.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my God.
And then another one was moving. Following your instinct on moving. You never look back. My husband has a story about moving. When he initially moved to Seattle from San Diego 6 years ago, and we met right after he moved, right after I dropped out of college, he'd gone to Seattle and he had bought the wrong plane ticket back. So he had an extra day in Seattle and he was really between like staying in San Diego where he just lost a job and like had a breakup and just like staying and kind of, making it work, or moving to Seattle. And so he went to a Mariners game, the baseball game there, and said, whoever wins, I'm going to move. And the Mariners won. And you guys, if you don't know the Seattle Mariners, they never win. They are probably one of the worst baseball teams like to ever exist. I can't lie to you. Like the Seattle Mariners.
Shout out to the Mariners.
The Seattle Mariners, there's a Twitter page, did the Mariners win? And like every week it's no. It's so funny. Yes. So he went to this game and Padres, I think they're going like big this year. Guys, don't quote me, but I think they're a better team. So Mariners won. And then when he was in Pike Place Market, he saw fucking orca whales, which are like one of his favorite things. He and his mom love whales. I have lived in Seattle. I had lived in Seattle for 27 years, never seen an orca whale. Like in the bay, never in Puget Sound. So that was really cool. And he just followed his instinct. He like put a little bit of a litmus test on it, but it was like, I'm moving.
The pieces, yes.
So I thought that was cool. But like if they hadn't won, would he still have moved? But
Yeah.
but it did, and it worked out. So that's another like happy accident. You can't really fully call it his intuition.
Yes.
But here he was.
Yes,
and then we
he
met
put that
a
out
week
there.
after. Like we met and we're married and have a baby. So that's cool. Like the way we met feels very like if we wouldn't have both made these huge life changes, we would never have been together.
Oh.
So I love that. I know. So that's cute. But yes,
Happily ever
moving
after.
was a response we got from people. Just go.
Yes.
It's the best, like.
For sure. I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know shit. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. On paper, same thing. My dad's like, you don't have to pay rent here. You don't have to do anything. You have a job already. Why are you leaving? You have your music equipment here. You have nothing there. I'm like, bye.
But you just knew.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then one other we got was for people who need to leave the guy. Someone responded very simply just saying, leaving my ex, it was the best thing that happened to me. And the prompt was, what have you followed your gut on that you're so glad you did?
Yeah.
Pretty easy prompt. And I just asked them to like elaborate, and they said that they just kept getting a ton of reminders from the universe that it was time for them to move cities and to move on from that toxic relationships and to leave all the friendships that they had built in a city that never felt like home. And they said it can be hard when your head and heart tell you two very different things, but what your gut tells you, like, it doesn't lie. And they said their intuition was so strong, they literally just up and left, and life became a breath of fresh air again. The shackles were released, and the universe gave them guidance to know where they belonged as much as they had tried to ignore it. And so this person who had messaged us, I think they're giving credit to like the universe, which you can call the intuition, the universe, you can, however you want to take it or whoever you want to give credit to, but they were engaged. This was someone who was engaged.
And
this was not just
family,
boyfriend, girlfriend. They left a bad engagement, and
Whoa.
they're so happy. They just
That's
ended
crazy.
it publicly. It was a public,
And sometimes,
but it was good.
Yes. And sometimes the answer. Maybe this is maybe like a psychological explanation for it. Sometimes the answer yourself and you're like, I'm going to wait for signs. And then your mind will show signs subconsciously that give you that okay.
So open yourself up for that.
Yes. Because maybe it's not, whatever, if we're scientifically explaining it, maybe literally the universe isn't placing things in your thing, but maybe your mind is showing you the answer that you know to be true.
And it's probably also showing you that things will be okay. Like, I know this person, I know a little bit more of the story. I kind of dove in, but I think that ending was what matters, but it was months of waiting for an answer. And I think in that time, the universe or yourself or whatever it is shows you that it will be okay. That it's going to be fine. Ending an engagement is never as bad as marrying the wrong person. So I hope this was it wasn't super deep and it wasn't super lighthearted today, but I think if you need clarity, there's no one you should trust more than yourself.
Yes. That is the best quote ever. Yeah. We gotta start learning to trust ourselves, whatever that looks like. We need to learn how to trust ourselves and maybe start with finding places where you didn't trust yourself and you kind of, screwed yourself over or you knew something and you still did the opposite, find
reflecting
pinpoints
on your past behavior to kind of see where you need to improve and but what's gone wrong because you haven't listened. And I will say though, second to following your gut, because trusting yourself really means trusting your instincts. That's what we're talking about. Your intuition, not all the excuses you can make. Because I make excuses for people all the time, really all the time. But I'm just so annoyed with anyone who's incompetent, and I usually have a feeling and then they're incompetent. However, listen to your friends too. I think that's another takeaway, and that'll be a good transition into next week.
If you have good friends.
And I was lucky enough that I have some incredible friends, despite some less than incredible friends that I've had to like cut ties with.
Yep.
Sometimes your friends know you better than you know you and can see when your light's being dimmed or can see when you're always stressed or always talking about something. Sometimes, like if you're not listening to yourself, if your friends tell you something and you're like, oh my God, I kind of had a feeling, even if you don't admit it, listen to your friends. They do love you, and people are not just like break up with him or just quit your job because they don't care. They're saying it with a lot of intention.
They see you in a way that you can't necessarily see yourself in that moment. Doesn't mean they're right, but doesn't mean that they're wrong.
So just consider it.
Yes.
And because I haven't before, and I've regretted because I didn't listen to myself and I didn't listen to my friends. So who the fuck was I listening to?
That's true. Oh, shit.
That's all. That's all we have, folks.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening, y'all. Cue the outro music.
Goodbye.
Bye. We love you.
Mwah.
Comment and like and subscribe and all that jazz.
Please.
Mwah.
Bye.
Follow us on YouTube at Too Long Didn't Listen. Follow us on Instagram at Too Long Didn't Listen Pod. And follow us on TikTok at Too Long Didn't Listen Pod.
Please make sure to like and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Thank you to our producer, Ilya. Thank you for our artwork, Morgane. And thank you for the music, Kai Music. You better listen, bitch.